Like a garden snail leaves a trail behind, a story snail leaves a tail behind. Share our stories and you may find you can tell a story too.
Hello everyone, and welcome to another storytelling assembly. Today we're thinking about something celebrated in the second half of May, known as Foster Care Fortnight. It's a time of year when we remember children who are brought up by parents who may not be their own. There are quite a few very famous foster children. You may have heard of an actress called Marilyn Monroe. She was in foster care. You've almost definitely heard of Eddie Murphy, an actor who was in foster care. You probably know him more as the voice of Donkey from Shrek. And of course, another really famous one celebrated his 80th birthday recently. I'm talking about Superman! Now, of course, Superman isn't real, but he did come to this planet from another planet, and he was brought up by human parents. The human parents of Superman tried to teach him something really, really important, that he should be kind to others. And that's very similar to what the foster parents will say in the story I'm going to share with you today. This is a folktale from Columbia, and it has a couple in it, a husband and wife, who weren't able to have children of their own. But as you'll see in the story, they ended up looking after 3 children, and what they taught them was, help others, and they'll help you. I wonder if you can say that with me. Help others and they'll help you. But at the start of this story, I need to tell you about 3 sisters who came to a wishing well one day. And they'd all brought with them a coin to throw into the wishing well. Perhaps you've done that. The first sister threw a coin into the well and wished to marry a builder. The second sister threw her coin in and wished to marry a fisherman. The third sister threw her coin in and really wished to marry a prince. Thought the other 2 sisters, you can't just wish to marry a prince. That never happens. But do you know what? All 3 of the sisters' wishes came true. The first sister married a builder, so she had a really lovely house to live in. The second sister married a fisherman, so she never went hungry for delicious fish. But the third sister actually did meet and marry a prince. She got to enjoy a royal wedding. And royal weddings are quite fun. Maybe you've done something to celebrate the royal wedding of Prince Harry and Meghan. Yes, of course, the whole country celebrated this wedding. Well, apart from 2 people. I'm thinking, of course, of the 2 sisters. They were really, really jealous. So these 2 sisters started thinking of a way to get their own back on their princess sister. And soon their opportunity came. You see, their princess sister had a baby, a fine son. But before the princess got to see her son, the 2 sisters swapped him for a puppy. The princess really did think that she had given birth to a puppy, and her husband didn't know what to think. But they loved and looked after the puppy like it was their own. As for their actual son, the 2 sisters put him into a basket and let him sail down the river. Now that river passed by the house of a farmer and his wife. And when they saw this basket with a baby floating down the river, they quickly rescued him. So the farmer and the wife decided to bring up this baby boy as their own. And that meant teaching him jobs on the farm and also teaching him what they believed, which was, if you help others, then they'll help you. Meanwhile, back at the palace, the princess had another baby. And this time, the 2 sisters swapped him for a kitten before she got the chance to see him. So the princess really believed that she had given birth to a kitten. She could hardly believe it, and her husband could hardly believe it. But they loved the kitten like he was their own. As for their actual son, the two sisters popped him into a basket and sent him off down the river. The same river that passed by the house of that farmer and his wife. So they raised him too, as if he was their own son, which meant teaching him jobs on the farm, and also teaching him what they believed, which was, if you help others, then they'll help you. Meanwhile, back at the palace, the princess had yet another baby. This time it was a little girl. But again, before she had the chance to see her, the two sisters snatched her away and swapped her with a stick. The princess looked at this stick and really couldn't believe that she'd given birth to a stick, and her husband couldn't believe it either. But they loved that stick like it was their own. As for her actual daughter, the two sisters had popped her into a basket and again sent that basket down the river, where it passed the house of the farmer and his wife. So the farmer and his wife raised that little girl as their own daughter, teaching her some of the jobs on the farm, and also teaching what they believed, which was, if you help others, then they'll help you. And so the time came in the story when the prince and the princess were going for a wander around the kingdom, and they happened to come across the farm. They saw how well all of the animals were treated. They saw the beauty of the corn growing in the fields. And the princess turned to her husband and said, "Do you know, this is probably one of the most perfect places in the world. It would only be more perfect if there was a songbird here who could sing you your fortune." Now the farmer happened to hear this, and he rushed straight into his house and called together his wife, his two foster sons, and his foster daughter around the table. And he said to them, "Right, you lot, if we can bring into our farm a bird that can sing your future fortune, then we're going to get lots of money from the prince and the princess." Now, I'm sure you won't be surprised to find that all of the others around the table had a face like this. But the farmer said, "Oh, don't worry. I know that there is a very wise man who lives on the top of the crested hill. I'm going to send you, our eldest son, to go up to the top of that hill and ask the wise man where we can find this bird." So the eldest of the foster sons went to the top of the crested hill, and he found the wise man sitting there. Now this wise man's hair was all tangled and in a real mess, and, well, he clearly didn't look too happy about it. His fingers were pulling at his hair, and he was grumbling a bit. And the son said, "Excuse me, wise man, I don't suppose you might be able to tell me how I can find a beautiful songbird that will sing our fortune?" And the wise man said, "Oh yes, if you go to the valley, then you'll find the bird there." Well, the boy lost no time. He thanked the old man and rushed straight down into the valley, where he did find a really tall tree with a gorgeous-looking songbird there who was singing stories of the future. The boy climbed the tree, he reached up for the bird, and then he was gone. After about a day, the foster family back at the farm began to realise that the oldest foster son wasn't coming back. So the farmer decided to send the second foster son up to the top of the crested hill to ask the wise man where they could find this bird. So off went the second eldest foster son. And again he came to see the old man who was sitting there with his tangly hair that was all in knots. And the second son asked him if he knew where he could find a beautiful songbird that could sing their fortune. And the man said, "Yeah, well, it's down in the valley. You just go and have a look down there." Well, the second eldest foster son lost no time at all either. He thanked the old man and went straight down into the valley, where he saw the bird up the tree. He climbed up to the top and he reached out for the bird. And then he too was gone. After another day, the family back at the farm realised the second eldest foster son wasn't coming back. So it was the turn of the foster daughter. And she too went to the top of the crested hill, and she saw the old man there with his tangles of hair that were getting all caught in his fingers and causing him to moan. And the foster daughter remembered what her foster parents had said. If you help others, they'll help you. So she took out her hairbrush and she went over and brushed the hair of the old man, getting out all of those knots. And the old man was finally able to smile. You have been so good to me, so I will tell you that if you go down into the valley, you'll find up in a tree there a songbird who is able to sing your future fortune. But as you climb the tree, don't touch it whatever you do. All you need to do is have a long stick from a branch of a blueberry bush, and the bird will come down, land on that branch, enjoy the fruit, and come with you wherever you go. Well, the girl thanked the old man. She went down into the valley. She found the tree with the songbird sitting up the top, and she saw a blueberry bush nearby. So she took off a stick. She climbed up the tree holding out the stick, and the bird came down onto the stick and said to her, "Well done, my dear. You know the important thing, which is that if you help others, they'll help you. And since you've given me such delicious blueberries, I should also let you know that down on the floor you'll see 2 crystal balls. If you chuck those crystal balls in the river, you might get a little bit of a surprise." The girl picked up 2 crystal balls. She threw them into the river, and I wonder if you can guess what happened. Instantly, those crystal balls turned back into her brothers. So the 3 children were able to go back to the farm with the songbird that could sing your future fortune. But while the prince and the princess were coming to the farm to meet this songbird who could sing your fortune, the songbird began to sing a song. A dog, a cat, and a wooden stick were given to you as a nasty trick. Your sisters were full of jealousy. Your real children are the 3 you see. The songbird told the whole story. And so those sisters were rounded up, and they were punished really, really badly. But finally, the 3 children, the 2 sons and the daughter, could go back to be with their real parents. The farmer and his wife did get plenty of riches to thank them for everything they had done, especially helping the children to grow up knowing that if you help someone, they will help you. And so everyone in this story, apart from those 2 sisters obviously, was able to live very happily for the rest of their lives. That's a lovely story, that one, isn't it? It helps us to think that family isn't just about having a real mum or a real dad. It's about having people around you who are going to help you to grow and learn. That can include foster mums and foster dads. It can include aunts and uncles, grandparents, and maybe even your grown-ups at school. If you've got some wonderful stories that you can tell about any of the great grown-ups in your life, please do send them to us, because we love sharing those stories on with others who might get inspired by them. Right now, though, it only remains for me to say cheerio, and I hope to hear your story soon. So, cheerio, and I hope to hear your story soon.